on that day when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, and they took him with them in their boat, and just as he was, while the boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern asleep on the cushion, and they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" And this is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Earlier this week, I was in here and Pamela was practicing what you heard play, "Just As I Am," without one plea. And we were looking at all of the harmonies that were going on, and we were talking about what stops, what sounds we would use in the music. And as I was listening to it, I kept hearing that repetitive theme that I remember, "Just as I am without one plea," the melodic line, and how so much of the harmony behind it was going everywhere, but where I thought it should. But in the midst of that, the melodic line kept coming up in the midst of that almost chaos of different sounds and different harmonies, and it kept hitting over and over, that finally, in the midst of all of that, that one cadence of "Just as I am with one plea" wins. It becomes the victor of the music. And so it was also this week as I looked at this text. I know it, I've heard it, I've preached it so many times before, the story of the boat. And so Jesus says, "Come, let's go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took with him in there the boat just as he was. To get to the other side of what? This is no chicken crossing the road. To get to the other side, why? And so they loaded the boat. And they know well, because a lot of them are fishers. And they know that on that sea, sudden storms really come up fast. You think it's going to be good, and suddenly it all breaks forth, and you're caught. And there's really no other way except to ride it out and hope that you don't sink. And so in the midst of all of this, we have the sleeping teacher snoozing on a pillow in the stern, right where the rudder is, that somebody should have been manning in order to make the boat keep upright. And then they say, "You don't care that we're drowning? Teacher, you don't care that we're perishing." And then it goes on. He rises up, "Peace, be still," and the wind ceased. There was a dead calm. Why are you afraid? And they're filled with awe. And so I'm looking at the text, and behind me, I've got CNN on, and it's all unfolding me. On the television, Charleston, Bible study. 9 people shot dead in that room. Who survives, who does not? And I'm caught up in it for a moment, and I think, but I've got to get back to the text. I never noticed, you see, in this text before, it just dawned on me, but it says here there were other boats out in the water. I completely missed that. And I'm thinking to myself, what does that mean? Well, I guess when the sea subsides, it's not just the boat that the disciples are in, but the other boats that are there too. And I'd forgotten that there were other boats around them, and they gain the calm that Jesus gives to the boat that he is in. And I'm looking and I think, well, what does that mean? And then all of a sudden on television, I hear that among the people shot dead, an 80-year-old woman, another pastor who loved to come to Emmanuel and eat church, and 12 of them in this room. And the person who killed him actually was invited into the Bible class. And he sat there for an hour, and it said that his purpose was there to kill him, but he almost didn't because they were so nice to him. But he did it anyway. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, is that how evil works? That it comes in and it pretends that it's nice, and then it unloads itself in all its fury. And all of of a sudden I'm watching CNN and I'm thinking, no, I got to get back. I got to think about what I'm doing here. I've got to preach on Sunday. And I'm thinking, do you not care? They said, you don't care that we're perishing? And then all of a sudden I'm hearing on CNN, I'm torn back about people gathering outside the church. All people, white, black people, it doesn't matter what denomination, and they're gathering together and they're caring about people who have just perished. Something is different about what is happening down there in Charleston than what I'm reading in the text. Then I began to think about, well, is there really a boat that we all sail in? Or is there one big boat for humanity? Or are there a bunch of other boats floating around out there that are waiting to be saved by the one boat that Jesus allows to be saved? And I'm thinking, all of a sudden, I'm outside and I'm back in Charleston again. I can't stop volleying back and forth between this text. It's kind of caught me. I'm trying to bring it together in some shape or form. And then the following day, or rather 2 days later, I'm trying to put some meat on the bone of this text. And the guy who is the assassin is brought into court. And in this state, the relatives of those who were killed are allowed to address the person who was accused of doing this dastardly deed. And I listen to them, and they're there, and they're choked with emotion. They've lost people they love. What you have done to me, I don't know if I'll ever recover. And then comes the grand slam. But I forgive you. And I want in my mind to think, what has been going on in this church over the centuries? This black AME church built in 1816, starting in every generation, rolling through the Civil War, through slavery, and then up into the 20th century and all the civil rights movements. What were those people hearing when they went to that church? How is it that they have been able to say something that seems so extraordinary to me, to face a person who stands there mute, and they look at him and say, well, I forgive you. And then I started thinking about the Lord's Prayer, and where we get to that part, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And I began to realize these people hadn't just said the words. They were eating them almost like it was spiritual food. You don't do the type of thing that they do that says, but I forgive you, without an awful lot of practice, without hearing an awful lot of scripture, without singing a lot of hymns that profess that this is the God that I believe. And then suddenly I realized, it stopped. All of a sudden I realized what we're going to sing this morning as we process in here, and the words, and it comes from an African spiritual. It comes out of the very depths of a church like Emmanuel AME. Those words, in the morning when I rise, dark darkness, midnight was my cry, just about the break of day. And when I come to die, give me Jesus. And I know that they've sung that in that church. Now the whole reality of what they've been singing for years out of this music that has sprung out of the very points of their life, out of their heritage, has come to be tested. And tested it was. And so I thought to myself, what kind of a boat do we live in here at St. Luke? Well, how are we tested? I don't know what it is, you see, to be a person that comes out of the lineage of what these people have come out of in their own church down there in Charleston. I don't know what it is to be part of that community that perhaps prays maybe a little different than I do, or who sings different songs than I do, but I had to be tested by what I saw. And I think to myself, what does it mean to want to get to the other side? What does it mean for the sea to be calm? What about all those other boats that are floating around suddenly finding themselves in the calm? Do they really want to get to the other side to see what Jesus has in store for them? Or do they want to beat it back to the other place where it's more comfortable, where they live? because it's a little scary when you have to get to the other side, because your faith may be so tested in a way that you never thought was ever going to happen to you. And so I wonder this morning, for all of us, for myself, for you, do you want to get to the other side? Because on the other side, all the things you say you believe may suddenly find a storm far worse than what you experienced while you were in the boat. Because sooner or later you've got to get out of the boat. And what you see on the dry land may not be what you hope it to be. In the morning when I rise, give me Jesus. And when I come to die, give me Jesus. And those 9 people who never thought in that Bible class that what they had sung would be the experience at that moment. But one thing is for sure, if they were like the people who loved them and said to the assassin, "But we forgive you," then at that moment, their faith was rewarded. And what they had prayed for, "Give me Jesus," is exactly what they got. Because you see, they did get to the other side. And when they did, the unexpected wipeout of their life was met by the graciousness and the love of that very Jesus to whom they had prayed. And that community of that particular Emmanuel church had given them the food that they needed. Some said that the walls of that church was desecrated by what happened. I don't think it was desecrated at all. If anything, the walls of that church has been strengthened. It's always been strengthened by the blood of the martyrs of the church. That's how the church grew. And I don't believe for a minute, you see, that church is not going to emerge as a very sign, a very symbol for the rest of Christianity to look at and simply say, what does it mean to get off the boat and discover who you really are, who you really forgive, and how well trained have you been to do it. And when I want to sing, and when I want to sing, when I want to sing, give me Jesus. Which means we need to stand now to sing the hymn of the day. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, lead me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn, and through the storm, through the night, lead me on to that light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Let us sing together in union with the people who are gathered at Emmanuel AME Church this morning to sing their praises to God in the midst of this terrible boat and the sea that they are being subjected to. Amen. Would you please rise?
Let me
when the night is a